All right, today what we're going to focus on is taking the beef tenderloin, turning it into first a roast, and then into portion cut medallions. We've taken it out of the bag, we patted it dry a little bit. What we have here is a pismo beef tenderloin, or peeled side muscle loin. Basically defatted, the fat is taken off. So we'll start by lifting off this chain piece, right? Pulling that away. See how that pulls away easily? You can do almost all of it by hand.
Some people leave that side muscle long.
You might consider leaving it on, but it is rather tough. There's some heavier collagen material that's in there. We'll trim it up. We could use it for small medallions. We could use it for, certainly for grinding. Now we're going to take off the membrane that sits on the top. And do this carefully. Don't pull too rapidly. You can actually tear apart the tenderloin because it is so tender. Use the knife sparingly. Use your fingers and just pull off this heavy membrane that sits on the outside. I'll open this side up over here and pull out this larger chunk of fat that's kind of hiding between the side muscle and the main body. All right, see that collagen band that sits on the top? There's a little bit of fat that sits over it like so. What I'm going to do is dive the knife just underneath that collagen band like so. Create a little tension, right? See that little bit of tension? And then just push the knife forward through like that, nice and smooth. And then clip it from the back. Again, dive it underneath, push through, nice and smooth. See how directional it is? What happens if I go in the opposite direction? If I cut in this direction, see how the fibers rise up? It's like a cat. Once I've got the top cleaned up, then we're going to switch to the underside and take away all of the heavier fat tissues on the underside. You see all of that large chunks of fat in here? Every tenderloin is going to be slightly different too. Some may have bigger pieces of fat, some smaller, some heavier membranes on the underside. That one's got a pretty good sized chunk of fat. So we'll peel that off. Now when I take away the fat chunks, I kind of roll the knife, scraping the fat chunks off rather than cutting down in. I'm trying to minimize the amount of meat that I take off. Tenderloin being very expensive, right? You want to maximize your yield when you do this fabrication. Those fat pieces actually begin to become the marbling that's within the meat. So you're not going to take away every bit of fat, but the bigger chunks, the larger portions. Occasionally you'll get a small piece that peels away like so. You'd want to eliminate that. Another thing to look for is some bone tissue. Right in here we see bone tissue. It's kind of pinkish as opposed to the silver of the collagen, right? This tenderloin at one time was attached to the hip bone, and some of the bone tissue came off with it when they boned it out. This can be extremely tough. So eliminate any of these little bone tissues that are here. Then on this side, we have what? Any little bits of collagen, any bits of fat, and just finish cleaning it off. Cut between the two side muscles here. If I'm just going to roast this, I could just eliminate the end, roast it like so, or I could tuck the tail underneath. Tucking the tail like so. Take a bit of twine, pull it like that, make a basic half hitch, right? Around, around, and then cinch, and then lock the knot. And that's tight. I could tie in these side muscles as well. I could also wrap it with one continuous knot over the whole thing if I wanted to. Turning the tenderloin, a clean tenderloin, into medallions, if there's any of the small side muscle left on here, I'm going to take that off at this point. Again, reserve that for my little brochette, or I could do a tasting tornado out of it. See, it's quite a tender little piece. Right? See this piece here? That's the large side. I'm going to roll this open, and I'm going to cut it at a bit of an angle. Right? You see that? Rather than cutting it straight down like this, ending up with two small pieces, I open it up, and I'll end up with quite a large piece. That gives me a big piece to work with. I can roll that around. I can turn that into nice medallions, tornadoes, right? Filet mignon. And then I have the main section here to work with. I'm going to switch over to a scimitar. I'm going to take off the ends. Just like so. Right, now I've got a pretty good solid piece to work with. Just about like that will give me about a 4-ounce medallion, right? Cut down through. Keep them small, keep them nice, keep them chunky like this, and the customer will be satisfied. One of the things I'm looking at when I'm looking at a portion cut, as I roll it around my fingers, I want to make sure it's even all the way around. Right? This one is a nice solid cut, nice and even as I roll it around. There's no high spots, no low spots. The rest of this, again, simply take off the end. The first one, cut a bit thicker. You could tamp it down. In other words, take it between two pieces and tap it with a mallet, or even just by hand. You could also take cheesecloth and cinch them down, but it's very quick and easy just to do with a little piece of paper like that. See how nice and even it is compared to the others?